chickens' first night in the chicken tracker. Let's see how they did. Let's see if they're still alive. You guys still alive? Good job, guys. You guys survived the night. Your first night. Good job. High fives. High fives all around, guys. High fives. Nope. Nope. All right. They're looking good, happy, healthy. Right on. Today I'm going to talk to you guys about how we learned to grow food. Quick background I want to give you guys of our experience growing food. First of all, we're from California. We're from a city just outside of LA. Lots of houses, lots of cars, and lots of apartments. Not a whole lot of land at all. Small backyards. I can't remember a time in my life growing up, I'm talking about kindergarten through high school, where we grew anything. Same thing with my wife. She did not grow anything growing up. I did not grow anything growing up. I remember before we were married, my wife would say, you know, I would love a garden one day. And I thought, yeah, that'd be cool to grow our own food, and just to think about that, it's kind of neat thing to do. So then we get married, and we would still talk about it. We would still talk about growing food, but we just didn't do it. For whatever reason, we got busy, life happened, but it was always kind of in the back of our mind, and we always kind of talk about it, but we never do it. First of all, we had no idea how to grow food. We're like, well, how do we even do that? I don't know. It was just it's so foreign, right? Because we had never done it, and we weren't ever around it, or really knew anybody who had a garden. We would talk about it, but we would never do it. Kind of one of those things we like talking about, and kept on saying, like, it would be cool to grow our own food. Yeah, it would be. And then I was diagnosed with cancer, and that changed everything. And then we started looking into real food, minimal ingredients, and then I get better. I get into remission, and we still never grew anything yet. We still haven't started our garden. So we buy our first house, and we decided, okay, we should start growing something. We have a backyard now. Now this was before YouTube was around, but I never looked at YouTube. I didn't even know what it was at that time. This was about 6 years ago. And then you think, well, how do we start working the soil? Like, do I just throw seeds down? Do we buy plant starts? So what's the first thing a gardener does is rent a tiller and start tilling the garden up, or tilling the area up, and then getting it loose so you can be able to work in it and be able to plant something. Now we didn't read any books, look at videos. It was just kind of what I thought that you needed to do to grow some food. I'm gonna show you guys a picture. That picture right there was our first garden, just beyond that white picket fence right there. Then I thought, do I just throw seeds on the ground? I don't know. We didn't know. What we did was go to the nearest big box store, like Lowe's, your big box store, where we bought our plant starts. These are plant starts right here. I would start with food that you know you're going to eat, such as maybe tomatoes, some squash, some zucchini. Here's a plant start of tomatoes. Plant starts is already grown, so it already has that head start. Rather, if you're growing from seed, I would definitely start with plant starts if you're gonna do this for the first time. If you wanna start a garden and you don't really know where to start, I would say don't start from seeds. That's my opinion. That's what we did, because seeds take time to grow. Sometimes they're hit and miss. You want your first experience to be a good experience, because you don't want to, maybe if you start seeds, they don't grow, and then you're like, well, I tried it and nothing grew, so I'm not going to ever do it again. And I say the big box stores because they're everywhere. If we would have knew about a nursery nearby, we probably would have bought from a nursery instead. We didn't know where any nursery was nearby, so Lowe's was the nearest one, so that's where we went. From there, we took the plant starts home and just put them in the ground. We didn't have rows or We didn't have any garden rows or any kind of organization. We just had a area that we tilled, and we just threw plant starts in there just to see what would happen, to see if they would grow. From there is when it evolved. Next thing you know, I was doing research on raised garden beds, such as similar to this one that I built on this hill. In my opinion, I think raised garden beds are the way to go. Raised garden bed, you can do a raised garden bed very cheaply. They don't have to be out of wood. You could just buy like some kind of container, throw some soil in it, and plant your food. I ended up building 6 raised garden beds. I also think garden beds just look a lot nicer. They look neater, more organized. I think they produce less weeds, and you could fit a lot of food in a container. You really can. I guess what I'm trying to say is how we learned how to grow food is just by doing it. We talked about it for a long time, and then when we decided to finally do it, we just did it, and then it just evolved from there. It's always going to be a learning process. Like, we're still learning. We're not experts. I don't think anybody's an expert. Always evolving, learning different methods, and that's what the joy of growing your own food is about. It's about not being perfect. But when you see a carrot being grown or watching it grow, that makes it so worth it. All that hard work, maybe all the research that you did, maybe those raised garden beds that took you forever to build, maybe all that soil that you had to bring in, all that compost that you had to bring in from somewhere else, shoveling it. This is what makes it worth it. And also seeing your little girl come out here and eat some broccoli straight from the ground. That makes it all worth it right there. All you have to do is do it. Go to Lowe's, go to Home Depot, go to a nursery, pick up some plant starts, put them in the ground. It does not have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be a huge plot of land. You could buy a small container. You could put it on your balcony. You could put it on your front porch. It doesn't have to be perfect. But when you eat that food that you grow, if you have one tomato plant and that's all you grow, that's awesome. But I promise you, when you eat that first homegrown tomato or that first homegrown carrot, you will never want to have a store-bought carrot or tomato ever again. It will change your life. Next thing you know, you're selling your house, selling all your stuff, and moving 3,000 miles away and starting your own homestead. I mean, I don't know. I'm not saying that's what will happen, but you never know. I appreciate you guys watching, and I hope this inspires you guys to start that garden. Stop talking about it and start doing it, because there's nothing to it but to do it.